You are welcome to Beyond Africa. On Beyond Africa today, we are looking at what is wrong with Africa. And the guest on our program, Dr. Israel, is going to take us through his thoughts, his experiences, and what he thinks could remedy the situation in Africa. You are welcome to the program, Dr. Davidson.
Thank you very much, sir, for having me.
Yeah, so what prompted me to bring you to the program on this maiden edition of Beyond Africa is a video that you made that went viral. The video is titled, "Who Did This to Us?" So, what prompted you to make that video?
Well, the video, I had to put it together following a series of events. One of them was that since joining academia in United Kingdom, I've always, I've always had this feeling that there was a need for me to satisfy myself whether there is actually a major difference between African race and other races. And being in education, it provided a perfect opportunity to be able to do so, because I have that opportunity to teach students from different races, different countries, and so forth and so on. But I also had the opportunity to travel to various parts of the world to teach, from Russia, Ukraine, Singapore, South Africa, China, and so forth and so on. And it also gave me the opportunity, to work with colleagues. I also, other things also including, racism, which I faced in some areas. Over a period of time, I was able to convince myself that people of African heritage are not intellectually inferior. Actually, in terms of academic performance and a number of other areas, we excel quite well. However, I had a shock of my life when I read a piece of article. And in that article, there was a quotation making reference to the former president of South Africa, William Botha, a racist. And he made a very shocking statement that Africans are not intelligent enough to govern a society. It was a very big shock to me, and he gave his reasons, and so I cast my mind back to the years, the particular year in which we had our independence, 1960. And then I projected things forward up to the current moment. And you can see some element of resemblance of truth to justify that statement. However, when I look back into the performance of African students I've worked with, I look back into the National Health Service in United Kingdom, and you see that Africans are, almost running that very establishment. Then I had an opportunity to listen to a CNN program about African expatriates in the United States. And you see how exceptional these individuals are. So the question then is, should I accept that Botha, was right, or should I actually, probe into this a little bit? I think I concluded that Botha was actually wrong in terms of his thinking as a racist.
But
However,
60 years and more down into independence, and Africa is facing the problems you identify, and this ties in with what is said that Botha said. Why do you think Botha is wrong?
No, that's what I was trying to explain. I think he that's a very good question. I think first of all, Botha was a racist. I think he made that statement to justify his reason for not wanting to hand over power to ANC in South Africa. But Statistically, if you mean to justify his statement based on the performance of African governments, you may want to agree with him. However, that is not reflective of the intellectual capacity, of Africans. Why do I say so? If you look at the economies of Europe and America, Africans play enormous part, ranging from education to medicine in a number of areas. We have excelled. And so if we are able to work in an advanced country such as America and here, and the governments are able to trust us, so there's no reason why anybody can tell us that Africans cannot, govern themselves. So we need to separate the challenges of leadership in Africa from intellectual issues.
Are you saying the problem in Africa is leadership?
To some extent, yes. To some extent, yes, it is leadership. Now, one has to be very careful when we are blaming just leadership. I believe if you look at the history of countries that went through serious transformation, you will always identify there is one person behind it. Whether you're looking at China, whether you're looking at Singapore, Malaysia, or even in Rwanda, of today. Normally it's one person. But the reality is that one person alone cannot actually effect leadership completely without the support of the masses. So yes, leadership is one, but also we need to consider the role of the population. In what way have they ensured that they select the right candidate and the right sort of people, and what kind of support have they been providing to leaders who are capable?
Your video brought out had consequences, and one of those consequences is the formation of the United Africa Progressive Foundation. What is that foundation all about?
What the foundation, remember there are several. I wouldn't, if I tell you that we're the first Pan-African movement, I'll be lying. There are several of them. But Africa, the challenges of Africa are numerous. And so no single organization can be able to cover all of them. So we were able to identify the area to deal with transformation of the mindset of Africans. Because we believe, first of all, both racism and colonialism and slavery planted serious doubt into our minds. And then colonization as well planted disunity amongst us. Even when our colonial masters were, dividing Africa arbitrarily, one of the things they had in mind was to plant, very long-lasting, disunity. And so it is important that we find a way of speaking to our people to restore their confidence and to make them to begin to think in a particular way that will ensure that the future is what we'll expect it to be.
But then, what added value is UNIPAF going to bring? Because, like you said, there are many Pan-Africanist organizations out there, many organizations professing the same gospel you are professing. What added value is UNIPAF going to bring?
The added value that UNIPAF is going to bring, I think, first of all, UNIPAF is not an organization that was formulated by an individual. It is an organization that a collection of people, professionals, of course, across Africa and beyond, made a conscious decision, to put it together. So it's not one man's idea. So the kind of support and commitment that is required is there. I think the other difference there is that we have chosen an area that is deliverable. There is no point for burden an organization with a number of goals and objectives they cannot deliver. I think what we want to do, in as much as we are willing to collaborate with other Pan-African movements, our sole aim here is to develop programs that are deliverable across Africa, using some countries as the sample in our samples, and to speak directly to students, professionals, market women, and so forth and so on, and then to begin to direct their thinking and mindset in a very positive way, and I think that is deliverable.
We know for sure that you are a former presidential candidate in Nigeria, 2012, 2019.
19,
You
yes.
lost the elections, evidently.
Mm-hmm.
And 2020, you're coming up with this magnificent idea. And your approach sounds like a political campaign strategy. Going down to talk to the market women, talk to the market men, talk to the buyers, talk to the students, talk to those who have the vote. Is this a revised or innovative campaign strategy you are preparing for the next Nigerian elections?
No, it isn't. It isn't. I have not even thinking of 2023 right at this time. I think, but let me tell you, the COVID-19, frightened hell out of me and a number of people. And you also realize that we have series of theories and suspicions around COVID-19, depopulation agenda, and so forth and so on. And some of those things, even though they might sound like theory, there are a lot about them that are quite destabilizing, to a number of us. So one of the things that we want to do, we recognize immediately, is that we have to take our destiny in our own hands. If we don't, a number of people probably sitting in New York, London, and a number of other areas are likely to impose on us things that future generations are likely to, suffer from. So the idea behind, speaking to this group of people is actually, it's not speaking, it's education, it's training. Is to make sure that we begin to prepare ourselves towards the challenges of tomorrow. The future is going to be quite challenging, and Africa must be ready. For Africa must to be ready, they must have, very strong leadership. That strong leadership is not possible without the support of the people, and the support of the people can be conditioned by the way they think. And we think the best way to do that will be to develop programs that can communicate positively to various populations across Africa.
We have seen political parties and civil society organizations on the continent doing what they say you want to do, but it has not worked. How do you think you're going to bring in the magic wand to change this trend of affairs?
Well, I wouldn't say, no, I think it's unfair to generalize to say, look, it hasn't worked. The issue there is that there are enormous challenges facing some of these NGOs. One of them is financial. If you want to engage in the size of operation that we have in mind, you need resources. The first part of it is getting people who are qualified and capable to be able to deliver the agenda. And I think I can assure you we do have them. These were volunteered, they know about the expertise, and we're still looking for more people to do that. I think the second phase, of course, is the finance part of it. That is the key. And again, we have experts around us who have the actual training and expertise to be able to ensure that when the time comes, we can justify our projects. And then, of course, then, get people to help us to finance those projects. I think these are some of the reasons why you haven't seen the level of success, as far as other NGOs are concerned.
You're talking about people who have spent their lives, or a huge portion of their lives, out of the continent. You're talking about professionals who are in the Western Hemisphere, in Europe and America. Do they understand the realities on the ground? Do they know what it takes to talk to the people on the ground?
Well, I think yes, they understand what they do understand what is going on in Africa. Uh, but now let me tell you, not everybody abroad feels comfortable. If you look at the United States, yes, you could make your money there, but how safe, how free are you? You can Europe the same thing. You will always be a foreigner. Even if you have that passport which says British citizen or American citizen, your skin tells everyone you are, not part of the society. So they think about Africa quite very, very much. Now, the roles required in order to deliver our program, you don't necessarily need everybody to be a foot soldier. What we need is the expertise. There are those who will contribute in terms of finance. There are others who will be able to contribute in terms of their expertise in designing suitable programs. And then, of course, then there are those who are going to champion as foot soldiers. In fact, there are others highly placed with the responsibility to be able to speak to higher authority in various countries. You know that Africa, you cannot deliver a program as we have in mind unless you speak to the big guys and the godfathers. So some of these things are cultural. We have to recognize them. And perhaps also that's probably the reason why some of these NGOs haven't actually succeeded. So we're not diving into operation immediately. We are taking our time to plan things, do all the right connections, so that when we start, we're likely to succeed.
You said something which is very critical and caught my attention. That is, you're going to talk with, you have some people who have the ears of these foreign governments, and these foreign governments can therefore help the projects of UNIPER to go forward. Is that not neocolonialism? Are you advancing neocolonialism? You want the Western world to come back to tell us what to do in Africa?
No, 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 no. I think you got me wrong. I'm not referring to our colonial masters. No, not at all. There are ambassadors, African ambassadors. Some of them are retired. There are, former heads of states. There are, high-placed clergy, bishops and archbishops, who are, committed to ensure that Africa, progresses. Now, these individuals, by virtue of their interaction with those who are in power in Africa, not talking about Europe and America, makes it easy for them to do some contacts for us. You need such contacts. For example, if we plan to go into Botswana or into South Africa to do some of these things, you need some clearance. And so there are people, the reason why I said that was that you have people who are going to play different roles. Some of them might be in America, they don't need to come to Africa, but they could give us the various contacts of finance. So I'm trying to let you know that there are people who are going to play different roles, of which the idea here is that together we will deliver the mission of UNIPAV.
These are people who have been out here for some time, some as long as 30 years, some maybe just as old as 1 year. But the trend we see is some of them are advisors to these companies, to companies that go back to Africa. Let's take the case of Shell, the Ogoni where you come from. Shell has pumped up all the oil, has left misery, has left pollution. There is nothing left for the local citizens to live on. And we consistently see a trend of expatriates, of the diasporan population, advising and working closely with these people from the Western Hemisphere right down to Ogoni. What has changed in the morale of the people abroad, and you think they are so confident that it's going to move this thing forward?
Bernard, I can assure you that there's no true African who will advise Shell and others to go and pollute Africa. It's not possible.
But Shell is doing it. Shell has done it and has since the 1960s and is getting away with it.
Yes, Shell, well, I think that we need to separate two things. You're talking about African expatriates advising Shell. They give their expertise probably in exploration and a number of other things. And then eventually Shell then will arrive in our country, Nigeria. And once they arrive in Nigeria, they deal with the authority in Nigeria. So when you're dealing with corrupt, regimes or corrupt countries, actually, they make these companies to change the strategies they have, originally. If you look at Shell and a number of other Western multinationals, there are codes of conduct developed by those countries. It's normally when they come into Africa that eventually those codes are manipulated. So to some extent, a lot of the problems you are, trying to, identify or you are referring to they did not originate from Africans who advise these multinationals. They did not originate from the multinationals themselves. I know they bring some problems as well. A number of them just simply because of the kind of people we have in leadership in Africa.
But you would agree with me that some people who are in government who make these decisions with the multinationals are African diasporans who returned with these companies and joined government. Would you agree?
I will agree that, well, there are African professionals who returned to their respective countries. But the question is, those who were able to have the opportunity of serving in government, how many are there? You don't have them in critical mass who are qualified and capable. And the second reason is some of them, when they are recruited, it's not because of their expertise, it's probably because of their lineage to the people in authority. So the relationship with the head of state or the minister takes priority over anything else. So we need to draw that particular distinction. My view is that a number of professional Africans abroad are well trained, well conditioned, and hence American and European governments offer them the opportunity to exercise, their skills. Now, when you come back home, you are conditioned either to, follow their terms or return back to where you come from. So the major challenge there is with the leadership and the power that exists in Africa.
We have seen some of these expatriates, some of these diasporans go back home, join government, and they are still these professionals. They bring this spirit that you are trying to impute. They are talking, they use the same language you're using today. They are going to change things. But when they join government, it becomes something else. We have the case, like in Nigeria, the vice president of Nigeria is a professor. I don't know where he's worked all along. But he's a professional, and he's not the only one. We saw people who have worked at the World Bank, we saw people who have worked at IFC, come back to Africa, and the story is not different. So what is that diasporan gem you think is going to change things through UNIPAD? That's what I'm trying to lay my finger on.
Well, I'm happy you made mention of the Vice President of Nigeria, Professor Osibanjo. Yeah. Osibanjo is not only a professional, he's also a man of God, as they normally say that. But however, there is a limit to which the Vice President, there's a limit to the amount of power he can exert. Because constitutionally, it is the President that has all the power. And then eventually, what he says, it is his agenda that his political party, so that his government will have to pursue. But I agree with you that in the case of our honorable vice president, I expected him to either resign, as a pastor, as a professional, because of the challenges that the current government, faces. Man-made, of course. They made some of those challenges. They created them. Now, that does not necessarily mean that professionals from abroad and at home are not competent enough to be able to make the right decision. I think the major problem is that you don't have such people in critical mass. And I think the second point here is the population, those who vote, they haven't been conditioned in a way that they can support men and women who are prepared to make the hard decisions and face the consequences. You see, these people we say return from abroad, they come back with great ideas. Now, when they try to exercise it and there is a brick wall there, well, it's either they toe the line of the powers that be, or eventually they have to return back to wherever they come from. Now, assuming that there is enough support for them, I'm sure some of them will be able to be willing to take the risk. Unfortunately, there isn't. And that's where we want to come in to begin to develop our people to understand the importance of supporting men and women who are capable and willing to take the risks.
I concede. I give it to you that you are going to work this out and have a strategy that is going to break down the brick wall. Because from experience throughout Africa, it's not easy breaking down that brick wall, and the populations keep on suffering. Now let's flip the coin to look at relationships between African countries. UNIPAF, you say, is a combination of Africans that are putting things together to work out on these projects. Now, the relationship between the common African across the continent seems inexistent. Is that a priority area on which UNIPAF is going to work?
Yes, of course. That is a very, very important question you've raised there. It is important if Africa is to succeed long term. It is important that Africans from South Africa to Algeria to West Africa and all that, it is important that people have to love themselves and then work together. One of the things that the colonial masters did cleverly was to break Africa into little chunks and then give them the power of being a nation. So there are some of them that actually they don't deserve to be a nation. If you look at their GDP, some of them, their GDP is not even up to the GDP of a very small, town or state in some of these advanced countries. So for Africa to actually have the right impact in world affairs, it is important that they speak with one voice. So it's very, very important, very, very crucial that Africans learn to work together, to love themselves. You know, when the South African problem, emerged, when they were driving everybody, or asking Africans to leave, and to the point of violence, it was a little bit. I was very upset. Not upset because of their demands, but because I think they did not understand the power of unity. And I think it's important that one of the things UNIPAF is going to do as part of our gospel is to transform the mindset and ensure that we begin to love each other and recognize the importance of unity across Africa.
We are talking about the whole of Africa, but originally you're from Nigeria.
I'm still a Nigerian.
You are a Nigerian and you are from the ECOWAS region. And we see a trend cutting across ECOWAS. In the Ivory Coast, President Ouattara is going for a third term. In Guinea-Conakry, Alpha Conde is going in for a third term. We are just coming out of a situation in Mali where the government was replaced by popular uprising, and in Nigeria, citizens and some politicians claimed Buhari rigged the elections. And there is no consensus between the citizens. Every decision is made by the governments. Let me give an example. In Mali, the ECOWAS delegation led by Goodluck Jonathan is insisting that the military should hand over power to civilian population, which may not be the Malian position. But still, we don't see other citizens in other African countries raising a voice, telling them to stop this. Is that of serious concern to you?
I think, well, at two levels. Let me just look at the first part. You mentioned about some of these leaders wanting third term. Look, this is my own personal opinion. If these leaders have something to demonstrate, unique accomplishments, and they have programs and plans that are likely to continue to transform their nations into the future, I think they can make a very good case. The reason why I'm saying this, Bernard, is that evidence has shown that opposition parties in Africa normally perform worse than the government they replace. So, for example, in my own country, if there is any leader who emerges tomorrow, performs the miracle which involves transformation of our economy, uniting our people, ensuring that individuals with the right qualification are given priority, and so forth and so on. And then that individual then says, look, my 4 years or my 8 years, are now up, but I have an agenda I have set in place. I'll need some extra years to consolidate things so that the next person will not pull everything, headed down. I think such person should be given some support, But it has to be concrete evidence of performance and achievements. So that is that's my position. Now, the second,
I would like to have a conversation on this position sometime in the future with possibly some other person that does not support that view.
That is fine.
I would like to have that conversation.
Okay, that'll be fine. That's fine. Now, the thing then is, the second part here now is about the role of African citizens keeping quiet. Now, I think the first thing is African citizens themselves do not understand the political system in place. We don't. Many of them don't. Even the politicians themselves don't understand the political systems that they're putting in place. And so the role of the citizen, as far as many African citizens are concerned in politics, they have no clue. And some of these politicians have deliberately also kept their population in the dark, so that because the more aware they are, the more problem they're likely to create. So the reason why you have a majority of Africans keeping quiet is because they do not understand the system. They do not understand the role they could play and the power they have over government. And so if you look at our presidents, they are seen almost like God, whereas presidents are supposed to be a servant. And so I think probably that's why you don't see a lot of response from the population.
This takes me into one other story that I'm very conversant with, and this is what is happening in Cameroon between the government of Cameroon and the Amazonian fighters, or the Southern Cameroons, or the English-speaking population of Cameroon, as it's commonly known. This is a crisis that started way back around 1961 at independence, and it has grown over time. The Amazonians have taken this case to Nigerian courts, and there are rulings from the Nigerian jurisdictions on this case. But nothing is happening. Successive governments come and go, and worse still, the president of Nigeria had to force some Amazonian leaders back to Cameroon, and they're in prison today, and they are tortured. And the message you're sending across is, this is something that Africans need to work on across the board. But Nigerians definitely know this, and they know that this is what is happening to their brothers on the other side. At least they speak the English language together, they practice the common law system together, they had been part of Nigeria before independence and before the kind of independence that the United Nations gave out there. But there is no communication in Nigeria about what is happening. Even the refugees that are in Nigeria, the hundreds of thousands, in millions even, nothing is coming out of Nigeria about this. Isn't it time for UNIPAF to start by raising an awareness on such situations that they should be conversant of?
Well, first of all, UNIPAF is not a political organization. We don't want to get involved into politics. And I think you can understand that, because once we begin to dabble into politics, it becomes very difficult to enter a number of these countries and to
but you should be looking at the humanitarian situation, freedoms, and especially the humanitarian situations of refugees that are resident across the continent.
Well, like I said, Africa has got so many problems, and I'm not sure that UNIPAF has the muscle to be able to handle a lot of this. I think we've positioned ourselves that what we want to do is to transform the mindset of Africa. If it requires us getting into Amazonia and then ministering onto the citizens and the government alike, of course we'll do that. But one point I want to make here is that the case of Amazonia, I only became aware of it just about 2-3 months ago. No, so if a person like me in academia with access to news all over the world is not aware of what is going on there, how the hell were people in Nigeria suffering from NEPA light? Well, NEPA is the electricity problems they have. How would they be able to know all that stuff? The other thing also is that, yes, Amazonian people are going through a lot of challenge. Nigerians are probably going through the worst challenge that themselves. They're looking for independence, which they deserve, because I believe that any people who believe they've been marginalized have the right, to seek self-determination. So when you have Nigerians who have their own personal problems, I think it makes it almost very difficult even to then, understand the problems of the people across the road. So, but the governments, those politicians, they know themselves. I think this should be more of the responsibility of African Union and ECOWAS. I think they're supposed to handle that situation better, ensure that.
Do you trust these regional organizations can handle situations in the continent?
I wouldn't. Well, they're supposed to be trusted. That's why they're there. If they're not designed to be trusted, they shouldn't be there.
Some people have said the African Union, for example, is a dictator's club. They have no clue on what they're supposed to do. Even the building, the headquarters is constructed by China, funded by China, and constructed by China. And that is supposed to be a top intelligence building. Right. You give such a contract to a foreign power that is kind of invading the continent?
It's not even a question of giving contract. They financed it, they built it. They financed. China financed it, and China designed it, and China built it. And so there's a very big difference between awarding contract and now let me say, I think when we talk about leadership problem in Africa, remember that those who running these institutions are still Africans. So there are still some vacuum, in terms of the kind of quality leadership that these institutions ought to have. Remember that there are some political negotiations that eventually lead to the emergence of the leaders of these organizations. And anything to do with African politics, you realize that it's not mostly driven by competence. It's driven by who knows who and all kinds of powers that play. But my hope is that in the near future, as Africa continues to develop, that the time is going to come when these institutions will be more efficient than what they are today. One more thing I like to say is that probably One other thing that makes them probably highly ineffective, you know, is the question of finance. If you have AU and Africa, and sorry, and ECOWAS, all their projects, no matter how grand it is, require to be financed. And the evidence shows that most of those projects are not executable unless China and Europe provide them some kind of grants. So that's a major problem.
Let's look at what is happening in Nigeria. Nigeria is one of the largest oil producers in the world. Oil seems to be a huge source of revenue. What is wrong with Nigeria?
There is a lot wrong with Nigeria. This is my own personal opinion. There's quite a lot wrong with Nigeria. I think Nigeria is an amalgamation of highly incompatible people. And when that amalgamation was taking place, evidence has shown that not all parties were part of the final agreement. And so finally, when the independence arrived, the British, as everybody knows them, they played their politics and did their calculations to make sure that a particular part of the country will continue to dominate. In their favor, of course. But over time, one will have expected that with the level of education and exposure, that Nigeria should be able to get over some of these hurdles. Unfortunately, the military takeover, of Nigerian affairs in the 1960s created additional problems for us. So today, Nigeria is divided more than before because of the current administration. And so the problem of the country, I believe, can be solved if we go back to our original constitution that empowered the regions to, chart their own course, run their own economy, make their own decisions, and then contribute to the center. I think until that is done, I'm not sure Nigeria is going anywhere.
You seem to be putting the blame on the current administration, which is just, I think, 5 or 6 years old. But before then, we had other administrations in the democratic Nigeria that could have done that, but did not do it. Why do you want to put the blame entirely on the current administration?
No, I'm not putting the blame entirely on the current administration, but the current administration, remember, when the current administration came into power about 5 years ago, I was one of those who supported the current president, because we expected he was a man of his words, that he was going to use his military experience, first of all, to crush the Boko Haram insurgency, and then the next thing then is to punish those who looted our wealth under Goodluck Jonathan's regime. Now, not only has he failed in these areas, he introduced a new dimension unknown in the history of our country, meaning, directing his kinsmen, some of them who are not actually Nigerians, to come into our country, and then using all sorts of policies to resettle these individuals, even to the displacement of indigenes of Nigeria. I'm not sure whether you've been hearing the kind of killings that are taking place in our country. So that in addition to Boko Haram, we also have herdsmen who are terrorizing everywhere. So that new dimension has created huge uncertainty in our country, insecurity, and so forth and so on. But also coupled with the fact that he decided to fill all positions, from military to various civilian positions, with his own Fulani people. Now, if these people were to be professionals and competent in what they do, nobody will have felt it because the economy will have been transformed, the national security will have been better, but nothing is actually working other than the level of corruption has gone up even worse than during Goodluck Jonathan's era. So you can see it's not that I'm blaming this current administration for everything, but they have introduced a new dimension that has made matter worse, than it should be.
But is the current administration not trying to fix the problems they inherited from the Jonathan administration? For instance, Boko Haram doesn't seem to be as harsh in current Nigeria as it was about 10 years ago.
Well, I'm not sure any Nigerian will agree with you in that observation. Remember that Buhari is a general, in Nigerian army. Goodluck Jonathan was a civilian. So we felt that with his knowledge of military and experience of administrating the military during previous wars, that his strategies were going to be exceptional. It failed on all fronts. To be honest, Nigerian military has performed worse than they did during Goodluck Jonathan's era. Discussion in this area that could take another program. And so the point I'm trying to make here is that it is not true that the security situation in Nigeria is better now than it was during Goodluck Jonathan's time. The other thing also, the economy-wise, the economy has, is even worse than Goodluck. People actually would prefer Goodluck Jonathan to be back, tomorrow, to handle things. From our exchange rate to the state of the economy to everything has actually, has not functioned or come out as expected. So it's a major challenge for.
I don't pay keen attention to Nigerian politics, though, but we have seen a trend of infrastructural development under the Buhari administration. Is that a wrong assessment point for Buhari's government?
My question was, where did you see that? Where?
We've seen roads, we've seen railways. He recently completed a modern railway, a tramway, and we see other projects coming in. We see the Chinese coming in and doing a lot of infrastructural projects in Nigeria.
Well, tell Nigerians. I'm not sure Nigerians are seeing it, and I'm not sure Nigerians are seeing any of those projects. We know that we've taken, a lot of loan from China. We know that Goodluck Jonathan started a number of projects, be it road, rail construction, airports. Of course, yes, in Katsina, where the president comes from, we've heard of some projects over there. But if you want to be able to demonstrate, that you are interested in national unity and progress and development, you don't confine such projects, into only one part of the country and leaving others. So it becomes very, very difficult actually to see those things. Until you're saying this to me, I've never heard of one. I've heard and seen him commission some projects, but people will tell you that some of those projects were already, under construction during Goodluck Jonathan's era.
All right, thank you. Let's go back to ECOWAS. There is a trend in ECOWAS where the Francophone countries are having their constitutions being gerrymandered or tailored to suit the current presidents. Is that a problem you fear can cut across Africa and even affect Buhari as he runs towards the end of his second term?
You mean what is happening in Côte d'Ivoire?
Yeah, Côte d'Ivoire and Guinea.
Right. Look, in Africa, nothing is impossible. And some of these governments, they copy each other. I don't support violation of constitution. I don't support that at all. I believe that if the term of office is 4 years, once you complete it, you should leave. But remember, the assumption there is that by the time you complete your term of office, you've run out of ideas, and therefore the next group of people that will come in are going to come with fresh ideas. It has never happened in Africa. Newcomers always drag the country backwards. Nigeria is a case. So what is happening in Abidjan and a number of other areas? One, first of all, need to look at the performance of these presidents. If they have performed exceptionally well in the history of those countries, that the kind of development and progress they've introduced is unique, they can make a case. But if not, there's no reason why they should be allowed to remain.
Like I said, I will get someone who disagrees with you and have both of you on panel to discuss on this.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think the other point you were asking whether that is likely to impact, have any impact in Nigeria. I think sometime last year, some people threw in, there was a rumor that Buhari might want to consider a third term. I don't think he will because of age. I don't think he will also because I think the country is already teetering to a breaking point. It will be suicidal for him to consider that.
Okay. Let's look at the ECO, the West African currency, single currency. Are you following that up? Do you know what stage it is?
I am following that up, yes.
Yeah, so what's up with it now?
Well, my understanding is that the Ouattara, I hope I'm pronouncing it well, President Ouattara of Ivory Coast, is floating this idea that ECO should be paid on euro. And once he made that statement opposition, people sensed the influence of France. And my understanding is that Nigeria is not in support of such a move. But if you consider the history of France and the way they manage the resources of Francophone countries, nobody will want France involved in anything to do with our common currency. And I think over a period of time, I think the heads of states of Africa will have to put their heads together to come up with a better option, of which I think it's not going to be possible for France to influence such a move unless Nigeria is on board. But I think it will be very difficult to get Nigeria on board such a proposal.
Why can it be difficult to get Nigeria on board on such a proposal? When we know that most African countries easily give out to French or to Western interests and influences?
No, I think, yes, most countries do. But one thing I'm proud of about my country is that we don't. I think everybody knows that Nigeria is a very tough cookie when it comes to dancing to the tune at a national level. I'm not talking about individuals. When it came to South Africa, we took a very strong stand against South Africa during the apartheid era. And so when it comes to a national issue, I don't think Nigeria is that kind of a country that can easily be swayed. I'm not sure, yes, Buhari is not that popular, but I doubt if he will agree for France to have their way. Remember that Nigeria is not a francophone country. I'm sure Britain too will be exerting their own influence on Nigeria, and that Nigeria is a very powerful economy, very strong economy in West Africa. So our position can never be ignored.
We are about rounding up the conversation, and now let's kind of make a synthesis of what we have spoken about. We have been answering the question, what is wrong with Africa? In a few words, what is wrong with Africa?
Well, what is wrong with Africa? Uh, like I said, there is so much one can say is wrong about Africa. But I think the major one is to do with the leadership of Africa and the mindset of the people. And you will agree with me that both of them go together. They are together. The moment we get the mindset of our people right, then they will have that opportunity to be able to, identify better leaders, support better leaders. And then from there, I think Africa, is likely to rise.
In other words, Africa is going to rise using a bottom-up approach where the people get empowered to empower their leaders. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, absolutely. And part of that empowerment, remember, part of that empowerment is that Africans need to know who they are. There is a lot of great things about Africans. But one of the things that colonization and slavery did was to belittle us. And it's going to take quite a long time, I hope not, to reprogram that mindset. That's what I want us to do. Africa is a great continent and a great people. So the moment we reprogram our mindset to recognize that we are unique in many, many ways, that will pave the way for us to recognize the importance of our culture, to value ourselves, to value what we eat, our language, and a number of other things. And that is likely to give birth to a new form of political system, not this presidential or Westminster. And at that point, Africa will be a new continent.
So, as UNIPAF is growing up, what does it take to share in the values of UNIPAF or to join UNIPAF?
All it takes is for any interested person to write to the secretary of UNIPAF. All you need to say is, General Secretary or GS at unipaf.org, O-R-G. And then that's all it requires. And then the General Secretary will communicate the terms and conditions of membership, and then that individual joins us. It is open to every African across the world.
Yeah, before sending an email to the General Secretary, the email address is sg@unipaf.org.
Yeah, sorry. So the email address is GS. Yeah, that is General Secretary. GS at, yes, GS at unipaf.org. That's the email address, and it should be able to get to us.
Okay. So before doing it, someone should be able to say internally that I qualify to be a member. Is membership based on values? What is membership based on?
No, membership is open to or anybody of African descent. Anybody of African descent. As long as you have African genes, whether you're in Brazil, whether you're in Mexico, whether in the United States, anywhere you are qualified to be a member. But you must be prepared to tune your mind to work towards liberation of Africa. That's basically what we're looking for. And most importantly, we're also looking for people with expertise in education, in mindset reprogramming techniques, and a number of areas that will benefit the organization in Africa.
Should any person like me fear this is going to be an elitist organization again? Because we are seeing a lot of such movements transform into elitist organizations.
No, not at all. Not at all. The reason why it's not going to be so is that if you look at some of those that it turned out to be an elitist organization, it is because an individual or two or three people came together to form it. This was formed by about 40 or 50 people from different parts of the world. Nobody owns UNIPAF. The only reason why they made me a chairman was because of the video. Otherwise, I'm not better qualified than anybody else. They felt that it was the video that I put out that brought all of them together, and therefore I should be there as the chairman for, I think, about 4 years. If I mess up, they kick me out. That's as simple as that.
So you're saying that that UNIPAF has mandates, a limited mandate?
Yes. The executives have limited mandate, renewable by voting, And of course, but there's a limit. I think the Constitution is still being crafted, but that's the way we're going. The idea is to make sure that there is injection of new blood, from time to time, so that the organization will be able to withstand various turbulence that are likely to come its way in future.
All right, thank you. Any last word for the viewers?
I think my last word for the viewers is that it is important that we recognize that we are, a great people, and that a series of efforts have been put together to make sure that we always think small. One example of that is if you look at the map of the world. If you look at the map of the world, you see how small, they place Africa in that map. They make Europe so big, America so big, and China. But that is not true. The reality is that Africa is the largest continent. In fact, Africa is so large that it can absorb all the other continents together and still have space. Africa is about 30.4 million square kilometers. China is 9, United States is 9, and Europe is 10. If you add all of them together, they are not up to the full size of Africa. So it tells us who we are, that those who are belittling us, there's something about us they fear. And so it is important that we tell ourselves the good stories about who we are. And once we develop the confidence, the right level of confidence, Africa is going to be the right place of the future.
Thank you very much, Dr. Israel Nonyerem Davidson. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I hope to have you next time.
Thank you very much for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching the very maiden edition of Beyond Africa. On Beyond Africa, we talk about African issues, and we seek to educate Africans, talking to Africans to resolve African issues by themselves. It is all about empowering Africans, it's all about changing the mindset, and it is all about putting Africa in the center of all conversations. Stay tuned and see you next time.